Okay, so new video today on our brand new suspension, the Solow NXT Plus. So the observant amongst you may have noticed this number plate on our Caravelle that says Solow NXT. Good find that one for 250 quid. But that's because this van has been running the Solow NXT Plus now for probably 6, maybe 8 months. So a bit of a backstory about the suspension. So this was built for us by Simply Surf Bus. And in the lead up to that, we got talking to Dan from Simply Surf Bus, who owns this van. And we were talking about suspension and how it is and all the different options. And what Dan said was, so Dan's into his race cars, and he's got, I'll show you a picture of some of his race cars, but he's always said that Transporter suspension he felt was just a bit too soft, and it would like something that was a bit more planted, not necessarily firmer, but just a bit more planted and a bit more car-like to drive. And he was also talking about the fact that he tows a lot with this, and also they build heavy campers and how the different spring rates and how they should drive differently and how they should dampen differently depending on what you put in the vehicle, whether it's an empty panel van or whether it's a heavy camper, whether you tow with it or what you do with it. So that got us thinking. So we reached out to KW. KW are quite well known for their suspension, or KW are very well known for their suspension across not just race cars, but all different platforms. But they're also well known for making dampers or suspension that's adjustable. So in our conversation with KW, we explained what we needed. So what we were looking for is a suspension that could work across all different platforms on a Transporter, as in whether it's an empty panel van, whether it's a heavy Caravelle like this one. So this is a full Caravelle interior. And sometimes this is fully loaded with a team that are going off to shows, and it also tows. So this has you may have seen we towed the preface off to get this painted with this. And Dan tows a lot with this. So we were trying to find a suspension that worked across that whole range. And in talking with KW, we talked about the various different options for adjustability. We talked about having adjustable front and rear dampers. And my problem with the idea of having a front and rear dampening adjustable is, generally, a Transporter at the front is the same. Yes, there's going to be a difference if it's a 1.9 T5 5-speed to a 204 bi-turbo DSG, but generally it's very similar at the front. There's not a lot of difference, whereas the backs vary a lot. If you've got a heavy Caravelle or if you've got a heavy camper, it's obviously a lot different to a combi that maybe carries the odd mountain bike. So how you want that to ride would differ so much. And also cost. Bearing that in mind, the more adjustability, the more you put to it, the more expensive the suspension is going to be. And we didn't want to make a suspension that was just too expensive that people wouldn't want to buy. So we decided we would make a suspension setup that we believed was the perfect setup at the front, the perfect balance of handling and ride at the front, and then would make the rear adjustable. And that's what the Solow NXT Plus is. So your front setup is pre-decided for you, and your rear dampers has adjustability. So and it's simple to adjust, that allows you to make that rear ride softer or harder, depending on what you carry, what's in your vehicle, or whether you're towing with it. So after us testing this out and being completely happy with it and being on this van for so long, Dan's then driven it and he's happy with it. He says it's exactly what he needs. So now Dan is here for us to fit the Solow NXT suspension to his van. Now Mitch is off today, or Mitch is off this week, so we're not going to have a Mitch Fits. Mikey's had to get his hands dirty again, so Mikey's back on the tools for the first time in a long time. So instead of handing you over to Mitch for a Mitch Fits, I'm going to hand you over to Mikey for a Mikey Fits.
And me, gonna be everything you ever dreamed. Wanna be who you need. Gonna be everything. Wanna be you and me. Gonna be everything you ever dreamed. Wanna be who you need. Wanna be everything.
So we've got all the suspension stripped off now. It's nice and easy. It was T32 and brand new. I've built up the front struts. These come with dust covers and bump stops already on them, so you don't need to use the old ones. We've transferred the top mounts over, always using the original top nut, the factory top nut. We've started with 25mm on both. We're going to put it on the ground later and just make sure it's level, and then we can adjust from there. With the front, you get a nice, it's a plastic adjuster, but it's filled with stainless on the inside, and it's held with a 2mm Allen key. So you just need to undo the 2mm Allen key, and then you can use this tool to adjust it round, and then tighten it back up again. So yeah, that is ready to go back on the vehicle.
Wanna be who you need. Be everything.
Right, so while Mike is fitting the suspension to Dan's van, I thought we'd go out for a drive on this and it'd help me explain to you why we did this. Now, we already do lots of suspension. If any of you follow us or seen what we do already, we not only do we do the whole Solow range from low right the way through to lifted, but we also do all the other manufacturers. So why at this stage in the Transporter platform is it worth developing a new suspension? And that's partly because what the conversation I've had with Dan and the way that suspension is designed. So factory OEM suspension isn't designed for comfort, it's designed to carry infrequent loads. And that's where coilovers come in. When you shorten your spring, ideally you want to shorten your damper together. And they want to be designed to work at the same spring rate, so it improves the ride and the dampening. Now, that's been done so well over the years, and as technology's evolved, the suspensions have got better and better. But where we wanted to work with KW on this was to make one that was adjustable. So this setup is quite different to all our other suspensions, not only because it's made by KW, but we've decided to go for something that's more kind of planted. Now, I don't want to use the word firm because I don't want to put people off with that, but it makes it feel so much more car-like in the way it performs. It's probably, you hear a lot of people talk about adding anti-roll bars to their vehicle to make them more stable and corner more level. This coilover is the one that most improves that without the need for anti-roll bars. But the beauty of this setup and the reason why we decided to do it over everything else was that adjustability. So what my opinion is of comfortable and your opinion of comfortable is completely different. Let's not mess around with the front, we know what they weigh. But depending on what load you put in the back, that adjustability means that you can make it suit your ride, whether it is heavy camper, empty panel van, or whether you're towing a trailer in Dan's case. We think you fit this and then it gives you that adjustability to make it suit how you want it to ride. But like I said, this has been on this vehicle now for 6 months and it's without doubt my favourite vehicle to drive. If I'm just going to jump in a vehicle and do a long journey, this is the most planted and the most car-like in the way it performs out of every suspension we do, without going for something that's super low. Obviously when you lower a van, you reduce that body roll and that centre of gravity, which is going to reduce this sway. Super low suspension does it more than anything because your vehicle's lower, but this gives you the ability to have that kind of regular drop, that 35-60mm, you know, that kind of where the most suited to like a camper van, and gain that performance in the fact that the vehicle now handles so much more, so it's less like a big square slab-sided object and more like a car. Anyway, let's head back and let's see how Mike is getting on with fitting the suspension.
Right, you might see that the top hole is elongated on the T32. This means that you get camber adjustment. So once the bolt's in, you still get a plate here, so you can true your camber up when you get your wheel on. Right, as everybody knows in the Transporter world, the standard bottom rubbers on the rear springs on the arms are just terrible. So we're replacing them with our heavy duty polyurethane ones. These last so much longer. I mean, I've never seen a set wear through. The standard ones, they go after about 6 months, so they can go. And we'll put the polyurethane ones on there. Okay, so now I want to adjust in on the rears. The rear adjusters lock onto the rear nipple with an Allen key. It's 2.5mm Allen key, I believe. So it's simple. Goes up, and then you lock it off on the edge with the Allen key.
So while Mikey is fitting that, I'm just going to show you and explain a little bit more about the adjustability on the rear damper. So this is your new Solow NXT Plus rear damper, which is adjustable. Now this can be adjusted on and off the vehicle. So just a bit more information about how the adjustability works. So they come out the box set at the point that you would want to fit them on the vehicle. So if you want to just fit them, what the recommendation is, fit them how they come out the box from the factory, and then you do your adjustability from there. So how they're adjusted, and this can be done on the vehicle, is there a pin that goes in the top of the damper here. Now each one of those revolutions with a pin adjusts the vehicle softer or harder. So this way it's going to be harder, and that way is going to be softer. It does say this in the instructions, so if it gets more confusing. So to simplify it, you have nearly full 3 revolutions of that pin between soft and hard. So they're set on the optimum point, which is hard, and then in the direction of soft, 1 and a bit full revolutions. So once you've fitted the suspension, if you decide you want to go softer, you need to turn it anti-clockwise, so in this direction, and you've got nearly 2 full revolutions that way to make it softer. And if you want to go harder, you go clockwise, and you've got a full revolution back that way. Now if you go all the way that way, which would be almost 4 turns of that angle, so 1 full revolution of the pin, that's going to make it super hard. And same in the other direction, if you went all the way the other way, it's going to make it super soft. So what I would say is start off with, as I said, how it comes out the factory, and then if you want to go slightly softer or slightly harder, just start off by doing it, a quarter of a turn of the pin each time to try and find the point that you're comfortable with. But it's all down to personal choice. What my opinion of a soft van is, or a hard van, or a comfortable van, is going to be different to yours. And the beauty is this gives you the adjustability to suit your build, depending on what's in it, whether it's heavy, whether you're towing a trailer, and just what your opinion of comfortable is on the rear end of your suspension. So that's it done. So Dan's just been off on a test drive in it and came back and just mentioned to me it was as good as he remembers, because like I said previously, they fitted the suspension to ours, the original prototype one. So yeah, that's how it sits. So obviously, as with other suspension, it's adjustable coilover, so you can adjust the height. You don't need to have it this low, or you can go low, slightly lower on this, or you can go higher. This is adjustable, but the really special thing about the Solow NXT Plus is that the rear has the adjustable dampening. So we believe this is the best suspension you can possibly get for a transporter to vary across different weights. It's not our low suspension, it's not designed to be low. Yes, it carries the Solow name, but this is your kind of your regular suspension, your camper build, your heavy caravel, your heavy combi, your work van that carries a lot of load. This suspension has been designed for that purpose, and this is how it sits when it's done. So this suspension is available from us now. I'll put a link below to our website. So it's available in your standard fitment, or what we would call a T30 fitment, so T26, T28, T30, and it's also available in the clamp fitment, so in your T32 fitment. It's available to buy on our website now, and you also have the ability to have it installed by one of our many Solow installers throughout the country. So if you're not aware, we don't install here at Transport HQ anymore, but we have trained installers throughout the country. Simply Surf Bus are one of those, but there's many of them. So you should be able to travel less than an hour, hopefully, to try and find an installer that can fit this for you, with the beauty of then having a 2-year warranty, because we know those guys have fitted it right, and they've all had to come here to learn to fit suspension our way. So you're getting the same service from them as you would do from us. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do hit that like button, it means a lot. Please share it with anybody else that's thinking of lowering their van, or thinking of changing their suspension, or has suspension that isn't really suited to what they're doing. Maybe they've just got cheap lowering springs, or maybe they've got other coilovers and they want a premium set of suspension to be able to handle that weight, whether it's towing, whether it's a caravel, whether it's a camper. Please do subscribe to that channel, ring that little bell to get notifications when new videos come out, and as always, thanks for watching.